Welcome back, folks, to another Football Manager experiment. This is Pub League number 8, I think, and we're testing teams from the fourth of the big nations in Europe in terms of Football League and football teams and whatnot. It's pretty obvious who it is. As you can see, we've got a pre-season report here for Bayern. It's the German teams that we're looking at. We're looking at 3 German teams. Unfortunately, we can't do all of them. There are so many good teams in Germany, we can't spend time looking through them all. But let's just have a look. Confirmation that Bayern are in the Premier Division, right there, in 9th place, although I'm sure they won't be there for long. Let's have a look at the season preview. So season preview is Bayern as favourites to win the league ahead of Manchester City and Liverpool. So that is interesting. Also, they've got several of their players, mainly in the defence, in the Media Dream 11. Manuel Neuer is named as the key player for them. They've also got Lewandowski, who doesn't appear up front because Kane and Aguero are ahead of him. Do they have anyone trained in Nation? Oh, they've got one. They've got this person. Serge Gan... I do apologise, I can't pronounce names, but this chap, who is German, where did he train? Oh, he trained at Arsenal. There you go, and then he went back to Germany with Werder. Fancy that. Okay, so they got one player that's trained in England. That'll help fill their homegrown quota. They've got a bunch of players trained at club, but I don't think that really matters. I don't know, I don't remember. Beyond that, though, they've got a lot of other top players, as you can see. They've got, well, there's Lewandowski, who we all know about. They've also got Robin. I saw Robin's name. There's David Alaba. Good player. James Rodriguez. I was trying to look for Robin. I want to see what his pace is like. There's Ribéry. Seems just yesterday I was watching a young Ribéry come on the scene at the 2006 World Cup. But there you go. He's still around to this day. Oh, there's Müller. He's a very interesting player. He's very strong mentally. Technical ability isn't as developed, but he's still good. I mean, I say that, but finishing 15, penalty taking 15, still pretty decent. There's Robin right there. So pace, he's lost a bit of pace, but I mean he's still a good player at 34. So how will Bayern do in their first sim? I think they'll come first. I genuinely do. They'll come at least top 3, I would hope. If they fall out of that, well, could be because of the registration rules, I don't know. Let's see how they do. So how did Bayern get on? Let's find out, shall we? Okay, I did say I expected them to win the league. They did get more than 70 points, but they ended up finishing outside the top, well, the top 5 eventually. Okay, so it looks like they didn't sign any... Wait, they did, because these were all made in January. Every one of these signings is a new signing. So they got this guy, Alphonso Davies, who is Canadian, signed him from Vancouver, it looks like. Kiko Casilla, whatever. They signed De Jong. These guys aren't, they weren't trained in English clubs, so I'm guessing they're just going for, strengthening their own team. As you can see, they did lose a lot of people. They lost Ian Robin, actually, which is interesting. I wonder who their top performers were. Let's have a look, shall we? Top scorer was, of course, Lewandowski with 29 goals. Most assists, James Rodriguez and Thiago. Who had the highest average rating? Yeah, it was Lewandowski. Matt Hummels is up there. Cool. Okay, so, I mean, they finished 6th, which I'm sure they'll be disappointed. They would be disappointed with if it was real. They got knocked out in the Champions League group stage. Got knocked out in the 5th round of the FA Cup and the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup. And then they didn't progress much further in the Europa League, so that's very interesting. Let's have a look at their overall league position. They were as low as 8th at one point, but yeah, they never really threatened the top 3 teams. I mean, they were in the top 4 briefly. Yeah, they lost to Tottenham. We can see what results led them to being in this position. Lost to Liverpool, lost to Tottenham in the last 4 weeks of the season, and that probably dented their European... Well, if they could qualify for Europe, it would have dented their Champions League hopes. Anyway, I'm going to sim this team a bit more. I'm going to sim Bayern a bit more. We're going to see if they can win the league in another 4 attempts. But let's have a look at the other teams, shall we? So the next team we're going to look at is another Bundesliga team. I'm not doing this one so much for the position they finished in, as I am doing it for just the heck of it, just because I want to. We've got RB Leipzig here, who they're a very controversial club based on the ownership model they're following, I think. I don't follow German football an awful lot. Who's their most expensive player? They've got Emil Forsberg. They actually had a Scottish player playing for them at one time. It was Oliver Burke. So this guy used to play for RB Leipzig for just a season. I thought it was longer than that, but I mean, fair enough. Did he get any games? He got 25 games before he returned to England. But we're going to have a look at and see how RB Leipzig do. I think they're a top half team in the Bundesliga. The season preview here has them finishing... I can't see them. 11th. So they're predicted to finish as a mid-table team in the English Premier League. Around the area of Southampton and Watford. Seems reasonable. Will they do it though? That is the question. So I'm particularly interested to see how predicted mid-table team Leipzig do. Let's just take a look. Bournemouth's manager has been sacked and Leipzig are... they're 7th, so they've actually exceeded expectations. They finished outside the top 6. They were best of the rest, as it were. Although, as you can see, the points gap between Leipzig and Manchester United is 11 points, so it's quite sizable. They actually... their goal difference is okay. Yeah, they're just basically like a good mid-table team. Really good form. Let's have a look at their other competitions. Were they in Europe? Apparently they were. Got knocked out in the last 16 by Chelsea, who eventually won the Europa League. They were knocked out in the FA Cup by Tottenham Hotspur, who eventually won it. And then they were knocked out in the Carabao Cup third round by Chelsea, but it was won by Arsenal. So of the two of the competitions, they were knocked out by the eventual winners, so no shame in that. Arsenal won the league, I just saw. Let's have a look at their league position, actually. As you can see, they were they were actually the top 6 for a bit of time, and they dropped out of the top 6 after drawing 1-1 with Burnley. Looks like their form towards the end of the season actually dipped. That was 3 in a row they failed to win, 4 in a row they failed to win, 5 in a row. Okay, so it seems like they lost a lot of games right at the end of the season, which may have hindered, obviously it hindered their top 6 ambitions. They could have finished top 6, but as you can see here, if we just go down, look at that, they just had a few wins in the league in the last, 9-10 games or something. So that is particularly interesting. They've already got their friendly sorted for next season. So yeah, they did alright. They did pretty well. Can they keep that form up though? Can they break into the top 6? That's questions that we will be answering in future sims. So unlike France, we're going to look at 3 teams this time. And the final team that we're going to be looking at is... drumroll... we're going to look at Werder Bremen. Reason for that is because they were one of the lowest ranked teams in the Bundesliga. It's a shame because they actually are... I remember 10 years ago they were in Europe and doing really well. They had Diego, the Brazilian midfielder, and things were going well. Now they are obviously just a bit part team in the Bundesliga. There's a lot of Swedish players playing in Germany, it seems. Yeah, their most expensive player is only 19 million. It's this guy, Maximilian Eggestein. Maximilian, that's a great name. Don't have anyone else I really recognise. Just having a quick... Claudio Pizarro. There's a blast from the past. 39 years old. Yeah, Chelsea. Was at Chelsea for a season. Jigs, Crivens and Help My Bob. Claudio Pizarro's still playing. Still a striker. He's actually still got decent stats, to be fair. Doesn't have pace, but I mean, I don't think he needs to if he's playing in a deeper role or in a different sort of role. Look, there's Nuri Sahin. We all know about him. So he's just moved. Played for Liverpool for a season. On loan, actually. I completely forgot it was on loan. But it's mainly played at Borussia Dortmund. Even played at Real Madrid. What a guy. We're going to see how they do in the Premier Division. Season preview has them. So actually got them finishing 13th, which is interesting. I'll be honest, I kind of thought that let's have a look at their past league positions. I kind of thought that their lowly finish last season was a false one. Oh, never mind. Okay, so apparently they're mid-table. Well, this is the last team I've got for the Bundesliga, so evidently I didn't get a relegation-threatened team. But they were mid-table in the Bundesliga. Look at that. Look at how many top 10 finishes they had back in these days, and now they're in the double figures more than they're in the single figures. There you go. Anyway, let's see how they do against England's elite. Alright, so the first simulation has been completed for Werder Bremen, and they have survived, but only just 16th position, which is lower than any of their previous Bundesliga positions. I can tell you that. Their lowest Bundesliga position was 14th. They finished 16th in the English Premier League. I'm not suggesting anything, I'm just pointing out the facts, you know. Looks like Chelsea might have won the Europa League again. No surprise there, really, if you think about it. In terms of the domestic competitions, they got knocked out in the third round of the FA Cup by Liverpool and the second round by Championship side Derby. One thing we never checked was the homegrown status of their players. Do they have anyone that was trained in nation? They've got 4 people, but I'm guessing they've signed at least 3 of them or 2 of them. Transfer history, let's have a look. So they signed Kyle Naughton, they signed George Hurst, they signed this guy from Bristol City. He wasn't trained in nation. They also signed, I think these are all real life transfers. Boyata was trained in nation. He was trained at Man City. Yeah, I think they could eventually meet the quota, but only after making a few signings. But either way, it didn't help an awful lot. They did end up finishing 16th. Will they get relegated? There's a real chance they will, on the basis that they're only 5 points above the drop. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And of course they didn't do that well in the Cups. But now I will complete my simulations for Werder Bremen, and we will come back and have a look at the final scores. We'll see how all 3 German teams have done in all their simulations in the English Premier Division. So the scores of the doors are in. Some interesting things that happened during this experiment. As you can see, we've got the 3 teams here and how they did. Let's have a look at Bayern first of all. They were very consistent, consistently underperforming according to the pre-season previews. As you can see, they finished 6th on 4 occasions. They finished 7th during the third sim. Their points tally, well, 71 points that they got in the first sim that you obviously saw. That was their best points tally. Their worst was 58. But they did not do so well, did they? I'm not quite sure why. I mean, it could simply be that they're not as good as maybe the game thinks they are, or maybe it was the quota thing again, the lack of homegrown players that meant their squad was limited. Maybe they got unlucky with injuries every single season. I don't know. Or maybe they lost all of their players to other teams. Maybe the players no longer saw Bayern as a viable place to play their football for whatever reason. I don't know. Either way, they suffered and have finished, well, outside the Champions League places, and I think 7th outside the Europa League places. Might be, I don't remember. They had mixed fortunes in the tournaments, in the cup competitions, as you can see, getting to the 3rd, 4th round in a few of them. They did finish runners-up in the League Cup, which was decent, and they got to the quarter-finals the year before, got to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup during the 4th sim as well. They also won the Champions League during the 4th sim, although that, as I said, is slightly less relevant, but they must have still had a decent team in order to win that. So how could they win that and finish 6th in England? As I said, I'm guessing it's to do with the homegrown quota thing. If I was more prepared, if I had thought about it, I would have changed it. But if we look at previous experiments, we've got PSG here. They managed to win the league twice with the same restrictions as Bayern. Juventus won the league 3 times. Real Madrid won it twice. Barcelona won it 3 times. The point is, these other giants of of European football, I should have said, they didn't struggle much in the top division. Okay, Juventus finished 6th, but they also finished 1st. Bayern were just consistently underperforming, so interesting one there. Not quite sure what to make of it. Leipzig were, I guess, slightly less consistent, although they did finish 7th in the first one, 6th in the second, 2 positions that Bayern finished in, so they were kind of up there. I guess that kind of makes sense on the basis that Leipzig usually do well, or of late have been doing well in the Bundesliga. They were quite a good cup team. As you can see, they reached the 6th round of the quarterfinal of the FA Cup 3 times. They were runners-up in the League Cup as well as their European adventures there. So they were a secure mid-table team, kind of an upper half mid-table team, a strong mid-table team, I guess you could say. Werder Bremen, though, is another matter. They did get relegated twice. Again, like Bayern, they were very consistent in the sense that, well, they didn't finish outside 3 positions. Bayern didn't finish outside 2 positions. So that's very interesting. They're more consistent in that regard than maybe some other teams have been, where there's been a bigger scale of positions that they finished in. Cup competitions, they didn't do that well in. Got to the quarter-final of the FA Cup once, but that's about it. So overall, what can we conclude from this? Well, I'm not sure about the Bayern one, to be honest with you. It might just mean that Bayern aren't that good. Maybe they're aging players, or they're aging key players such as Robin and Ribery. I know they've got other players, but those are 2 key players and have been for a long time, but they're aging. Maybe they couldn't cope with the demands of the game. Maybe they, well, as I said, maybe they lost a bunch of players. Maybe the style just didn't suit them, although it did suit Juventus, it suited Madrid and Barcelona and all those teams. Even PSG won a couple of leagues. Leipzig, well, as I said, secure, strong mid-table team. They would be, where have they finished in the past Bundesligas? Okay, I'm having a look at the past 3 Bundesliga tables, and Leipzig came second in 2016-2017. They came 6th in 2017-2018, and this season they're currently 4th. So does that mean then that the English league is far stronger? I mean, again, it might do. The conclusions have basically been the same. We've seen throughout the European leagues, we've seen teams, well, there's Montpellier, they're a mid-table French team, get relegated every single season. Sampdoria even got relegated once. Who do we have here? Espanyol got relegated, and they're generally a decent Spanish team. Maybe now the question turns from, is the English league really stronger than these European leagues, to why is it? And again, it could be a question of money, it could be a question of style, it could be a question of physical demands. I don't know. There might be a lot of things that play out that allows the English league to be stronger, but it's interesting to see that Leipzig, they never got relegated, but as a good, or a strong, if you like, German team, finishing as low as 13th in the English league. Maybe it's not such a big surprise, but it's certainly interesting. And obviously Werder Bremen they're slap bang in the middle of the table, but Football Manager reckons they're getting relegated a couple of times and they're just surviving on other occasions. So it's certainly interesting to think about. Anyway, we're not done with this experiment. There's one more European one that I want to do with a few other leagues that aren't considered major leagues, just to test them out, see what goes down, and then we will go back to possibly some Scottish teams in England, and then we might get on to English teams in Scotland. It really just depends on what I can come up with. But that will do it for this episode. These are the results. Thank you very much for checking it out, and I will see you when I see you.